We're going to hear a lot of navel-gazing from Labor in coming days, as if we haven't heard enough of that already. The review that I've just referred to has been handed down, completed by former Trade Minister Craig Emerson and former SA Premier Jay Weatherill. Not the wisest of choices in my view. I'll have a bit more to say about that in a moment. But we've already seen a quick response from the man who led Labor's campaign this year, that is, of course, Bill Shorten. Have a look at what he's had to say. He's put out a statement on social media. He says the May result was a shock and a surprise, but it was not a landslide. And if Mr Morrison continues to disappoint, Labor is within swinging distance of forming government. Well, Labor and its many friends in the media keep saying it was a shock loss, which is a clue as to why they just don't get what happened. And they can say it wasn't a landslide, but it was a historically appalling performance by Labor, winning only 33% of the primary vote. Now, the rest of us weren't shocked and surprised by the election result. The rest of us could see all along that Labor was always a chance to lose this year's election that they saw as unlosable. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that increased taxes and extreme climate policies are going to frighten off sensible voters. Mainstream voters, time and again, have voted against higher taxes and against extreme climate policies. That's because they're not idiots. So Bill Shorten went on to say this: "Were the universe to grant reruns, I would campaign with fewer messages, more greatly emphasise the jobs opportunities in renewable energies and take a different position on franking credits. In 2018, I presided over a bigger tax cut plan than the Liberals for 10 million working Australians. But I concede, with hindsight, when they matched ours, we should have gone bigger again." Wow, Bill Shorten recognising that lower income taxes actually work. The penny has dropped. Or has it? He doesn't resolve from the $400 billion extra taxation Labor was going to levy on Australian investors, Australian businesses, Australian high-income earners. It's amazing they couldn't see any of this in the lead-up to the election campaign, isn't it? But I can see that the climate and energy policy area is one where Labor still clearly has a blind spot. I always said that this was going to be the case. I always said that Weatherill was the wrong person to run the federal election review because of his ludicrous and damaging record on climate and energy policies. How was he ever going to realistically appraise Labor's policies when he presided over the vandalism of the South Australian electricity system, leading to the state's first ever statewide blackout, something he never admitted error on, as he demonstrated in this famous exchange a couple of years ago?
I've got to say, it is a little galling to be standing here next to a man that's been standing up with his Prime Minister, bagging South Australia at every step of the way over the last 6 months, to be standing here on this occasion, him suggesting that we want to work together.
It's always somebody else's fault, isn't it? Weatherill was never going to recognise that Labor's federal 50% renewable energy target and almost doubling of the Paris climate carbon emissions targets are not only economically reckless, but toxic to voters. This is the elephant, apparently, that's going to remain in Labor's room. I wonder who within the Labor Party is actually ever going to take this one on.